Want to achieve network marketing success? Then you're in the right company. Hello, and welcome to Leave Nothing to Chance, hosted by networking marketing giant, John Solleder. Learn everything you need to know about the network marketing space from somebody who's actually done it. Join us every week for front row seats as we feature some of the finest and most successful personalities in network marketing. Leave nothing to chance. Join us now.
It is my privilege to introduce another long-term industry friend of mine, somebody who has been around the industry a long time and is become a key influencer in training both women and men, but doing a heck of a job leading a lot of women and helping them to build their distributorships and build their own businesses and to deal with everything that's been going on, especially this last crazy year. So let me welcome my dear friend, Taylor Thompson. Welcome, Taylor.
Hey, how are you?
I'm great. Well, this is fun that we're getting to do this together. So, Taylor, I know you've been in the industry for a long time. And why don't you share, how you get started?
Well, I mean, it's really hard to think about whenever you say a long time because I still feel like I'm, in my 30s and just getting started. But, I started 28 years ago. And that's a really hard thing to say. That's a long time ago. And I started, John, I mean, I didn't start looking for a business. I was not that girl. I was a West Texas girl, born and raised. I was raised in a trailer park, in a mobile home. I mean, some people may not even know what a mobile home is. I mean, I was the least likely person to have a business, be in business for themselves. But, what happened for me after graduating from college, my husband at the time, he had just had a career-ending injury in the NFL. We had a brand new baby. And I just, my priorities changed. Everything changed for me because, and I know the moms listening out there, once you hold the baby for the first time, I mean, all of your personal aspirations and dreams kind of go by the wayside because everything really becomes about them when you look in those baby blues for the first time. And, we found ourselves, we left LA, we were back in West Texas again, full circle. And, I was looking, I wanted an opportunity. I wanted to be able to make, an extra, money from home. And, that was not like, think about like 28 years ago, that was before internet, that was before cell phones, that was before all the, most people wouldn't even know what that really looks like in their life. When phones were wired to the wall, they weren't even mobile, and so I started answering, ads in the newspaper. Some people may not even know what a newspaper is, like, for heaven's sakes, where they had want ads and they would have like these personal want ads and, how to work from home. And, they had all these like work stuffed envelopes, all of these. And I know people go, what is she talking about? But it was like, you literally had to mail money. And I believe this, I was so desperate. I mailed off money to think I'm going to be stuffing envelopes for some company and they're going to pay me to do this from home. And I just started answering ads because I was so desperate to have mom care versus daycare. And my numbers looked like this. It was like, if I could make $800 working from home, I felt like that was equivalent to me working full time and paying for daycare. That was my offset. And, mom's probably listening right now. I'm sure you've probably done your own calculations. What would that look like? What could that look like? Could I have, mom care versus daycare? Could I? And to me, there was like the thought of that, you really can't put a monetary, value on. And so I started answering these ads, and I started answering these ads. And a lot of people may know, like, they've heard the, company called Herbalife. And I was answering these ads. Now, keep in mind, I just had a baby and I was answering these ads and they were like, oh, it's Herbalife. And I'd be like, oh, God, I don't want to sell anything. That's, I'm not doing that. And the funny part about it, John, is that there was this little redheaded lady that lived across the street from me. And you can imagine, like, in her driveway, she had this car, and there was all these bumper stickers, these magnetic signs around her car. It said, "Lose weight now, ask me how." And I'm like, dear God, like, is that what it looks like to sell that product? I'm like, can't even imagine, driving around a vehicle like that. And so I had my preconceived ideas about what it looked like to sell something. But yet I was willing to stuff envelopes or do something crazy, and I kept answering these ads, and I sent off for this booklet that I actually paid for, that there's supposedly all these different opportunities in. I made beaded jewelry. I got a beaded jewelry kit. Now in between, I'm answering all these Herbalife ads. Now, keep in mind, 28 years ago, there wasn't a company on every corner. People don't even know what that, the opportunities were very, very small whenever you talked about selling anything, but Herbalife was very prevalent. So my last straw was I was literally processing goat hair out of my bathtub. Now, I know you're raising your eyebrows at me, like, what are you even saying, Taylor? Like, what is that? And it was literally, they sent me this box, and I thought that I was going to be making doll's hair. Now, it sounded legit because baby dolls have hair, and that's what, they make doll's hair with. For me, I think, people do things out of two reasons: inspiration or desperation. To me, that was the epitome of desperation. Whenever I had goat hair, little shaved off of a goat, in my bathtub, the bathtub that I took a bath in, thinking that I was literally going to make money doing this. And I'll never forget the moment that I looked at it and I just started bawling, just crying, because I thought, is anything really going to work? Is anything truly legitimate? And, and I was really broken. I know it's funny now whenever you say that. I was like, how ridiculous, but this is a true story. This is really a true story. Can't make this stuff up. And so I went back to answering ads in the newspaper, and, I answered an Herbalife ad. But it's one of those things that as people go through things, your perspective changes as you go through challenges. You hear things with a different set of ears. You see things with a different set of eyes as you change, right? But what happened for me is they told me this story. They were sharing with me about this couple that lived in a little bitty town in West Texas, not very far from where I lived. And it was a really small town, and this couple was making $10,000 a month. Now, you have to understand, I never believed for a minute that somebody like me from the other side of the tracks could make $10,000. But what I did hear in that story, John, is that if somebody not very far from where I lived in a little bitty town could make $10,000 a month, surely I, processor of goat hair, could make 800, right? And so that story is what got me. And it really did change the trajectory of my life, because I called myself ignorance on fire. Now, keep in mind, before, whenever I'd heard these stories, they were trying to get me on their products. Even though I needed to lose weight just having a baby, I couldn't hear that because I couldn't make the connection of I have to buy the products, and now how does that work? But because they led with this story about money, and then they said, oh, but you get on the products, and then that's what you talk about. And so for me, that made sense. And so I got on the products. My first week, I lost 5 pounds. In the first 7 days, I made $420 in my first 7 days. My first 30 days, I dropped 28 pounds. I went from a size 14 to a size 6, and I made $2,400 my very first 30 days in the business. And I knew nothing, literally nothing. I call myself ignorance on fire. Like, I was just talking to anything and everything that could breathe, right? And that's how I got my start. And I got a set of millionaire training tapes. And I was very fortunate to come into this, learning, teaching environment that, somebody like me could have a business. And now, remember that little redheaded lady from across the street? She was my upline. And, I think about that because she lived right across the street, but it took an ad in the newspaper to get me, right? But was Tish Rasheen, the lady truck driver, the first Herbalife distributor in the state of Texas, and also the mentor to the millionaires, Larry Thompson, the strategist behind now. So Larry had already left Herbalife right as I was literally coming in. But I felt like I knew him, because it was everything that our culture was built around was Larry's teaching, Larry's training, meeting protocols and, oh, Larry would never let that happen. Oh, Larry, it was Larry this, Larry that. It was like, gosh, this guy must walk on water, and that was the environment that I grew up in was Larry Thompson, Jim Rohn, millionaire training, and it really set the course for my business and laid the foundation for what I know to be true even to this day.
Well, it's a pretty good foundation, as you know, I would agree with. That's kind of where I started way back. So this is 28 years ago. Now, your daughters are all grown, I know, and all doing well, I believe. And you worked the Herbalife business as a distributor. How many years?
Oh gosh, let's see, till about 2002. Yeah, till about 2002. And so there's a lot of story in between all of this stuff, because I went from being a stay-at-home mom of 3 to a single mom of 3 doing my business. And in that time, Mark Hughes had passed away. In 2000, and in 2000, May of 2000, August of 2000 is the first time that I got to meet Larry. That was when there was in August of 2000, there was a presidential summit that was taking place, and Tish, she took 10 of her top distributors in her organization to go meet and work with Larry. And that was the first time that I met Larry ever face to face. And, I'll never forget, I was the last person out of the limousine walking up to his, it was this, my goodness, his closet was bigger than the house that I was living in at the time. It was the craziest thing. Here's in Hidden Valley at the top of this mountain, this 25,000 square foot mansion. I'd never seen anything like that in my life. I'm, West Texas girl. It was like, and he was coming down the stairs. Everybody had already went into the training room, and I met him, shook his hand for the very first time. And I don't know if you believe in love at first sight, John. And I didn't know that I thought that. I literally thought I was a groupie. I have to tell you, I literally thought I was a groupie. Like, what is wrong with me? Like, what is happening with you? It was the craziest thing. But it was a working relationship that we established, and we really became the best of friends. It was a really tough time in my life as being a single mom. And, we really became spiritual confidants more than anything. Long distance. And I know this is the kind of the personal side of the story, but I would go out on dates and I couldn't wait to come home and tell him about my date. We were that kind of friends. And, I got to the point to where I didn't even care about the date. All I wanted to do, it wasn't about getting home and telling about the date. It was just about getting home because I wanted to talk to Larry. But, then it just didn't make sense because he was in California. I'm a single mom in Texas. I've got 3 little girls. How does this even work? Right? Am I crazy? And, I guess God just had a funny sense of humor. I don't even know, we ended up having our first date like almost 2 years later after we met. And, we've been together ever since. But that was, whenever we started doing business together, that's whenever I walked away from my Herbalife business, to do marketing consulting with him because I couldn't do both. So, yeah.
So let's do a little segue here, Taylor. Women have become the dominant force in our industry.
Yes.
And for a lot of reasons, a lot of good reasons, but you've got a bird's eye view because you're training so many of them, you're coaching so many of them, you're mentoring so many of them at all different ages right now. Yeah. So why does a woman look at network marketing as opposed to all the other business ventures, franchising, other types of businesses that one could be in? Why is this industry so good for women to be in as opposed to any of those other things?
I really believe that, this business was designed for women just because, you've heard the term, I'm sure probably, whenever you think about social media, whenever you've heard the term about social selling, um, because women are so relational. I always said that women will join a cause before she joins a business. And typically, whenever you look at our space as a whole, there's causes and mission statements all over the place, whether it's to help people with their health or help people with their energy or help people with their finances or they've a lot of companies that I think are smart that use their mission statement really attract women because they naturally want to share something that's going to be of service or naturally share something that they feel deems valuable. And I think with the technical world that we live in, especially, it allows that message to be communicated faster, quicker, better.
Mm.
Whenever it's like women talking over coffee. What do we talk about? We talk about our kids. We talk about, we talk about what we just we just went to the store when there was a sale. I just bought these shoes. Oh my gosh, you're not even gonna believe I'm working out at this place. Have you tried this workout wear? I mean, it because that's naturally who we are and what we talk about. And so most men, especially because men and women not only assimilate information differently, but we disseminate information differently. And so much of the time, and especially what I've seen evolve over the last several years, you talk about an industry that was primarily dominant with men, whenever you look back when Larry started, the Cadillac driving, whiskey drinking, the meetings can you even imagine what it was like whenever he started with guys drinking whiskey and smoking cigars in a meeting? That doesn't even compute. But, as these things evolved and as women, because, it's something that Larry and I teach that we always felt strong about was the Thompson rule, the 80, 15, and 5, that 80% of your business will be that person that wants to make $500 to $1,000 a month. Well, that was me, $800 a month. And so whenever you create spaces like what I had, that learning, teaching environment, that belief, because belief determines behavior. And whenever you can create a community, and especially with social media, it allows that incubator process to really be cultivated for women to, again, I mentioned that I came in because of a story. It allowed me to say, if it works for them, maybe it might work for me. And so it allows the stories, it allows the vision to expand because it's in front of them all the time. We didn't have those kind of things. It had to be, an invite to a meeting kind of concept. And women were home taking care of the kids. They didn't have those kind of social outlets to necessarily, be able to invite somebody to a meeting or invite somebody to a phone call because they were busy taking care of the house or working, then coming home, taking care of kids. So I don't think it was as conducive to lifestyle as it is today. So, for me, I think it's a natural, I think it's more natural. But what happens is that men typically create the stumbling blocks. They want to make the women like they are. And they don't understand, they don't speak our language. It's like that, that book. I don't know if you've ever read that book, Men Are From Mars and Women Are From Venus.
Mm-hmm. John Gray, yep.
It's so true. And being in the consulting space, working with companies and stuff, and you see all the CEOs, and I've sat on, I can't even tell you how many boardrooms I've sat in, being in the only woman sitting at the table with all these men, and they're making these decisions. And I'm thinking, and I'm like, that's stupid. I would never do that. I would never say that. And I would never try to implement that, you know, and because they don't understand who their audience is. And
Mhm.
we, Larry and I teach, we teach one of our pillars is audience, language, and behavior. And whenever you can speak the right language to the right audience to create the right behavior, you've got a winning formula. I really think that the stage is set, for women especially to thrive, just because it's naturally who we are.
It's funny that you say that because we are different, and it's okay to be different. There's, men and women are different. And a number of years ago, I was in Toronto, and I went to this show called "The Caveman Defends His Life." I don't know if you've ever seen it. It's a one-man show. The guy's hysterical. Matter of fact, it did start here in Texas. I think the guy was from here. But anyway, and the guy goes through these whole scenarios about, the difference between women and men. And one of the things I remember from that is that he said, what we don't understand as guys is that a woman uses, and this is according to anthropology, by the way, 7,000 words a day. A man uses about 2,000. So a guy comes home from work and the wife says, "How was your day, honey? Tell me this, tell me that." And the guy goes, we kind of grunt because we've used our 2,000 words, where the woman still has the words left. Now, not all women and not all people, obviously, I'm generalizing, but I've always thought that's the reason why in my businesses, I've always preferred women to men, number one. And number two, and I love your reaction to this, what I found, and you were a single mom, so you'll relate to this. I have seen, and I'm not endorsing women become single moms. If you're married, obviously, please try to stay married, try to keep your family together. But I have seen so many incredibly strong women like Taylor Thompson, like others that I've worked with through the years, that became single moms, gave up on that whole notion that, some guy's going to ride in on a white horse and take care of everything. It's like, yeah, right. Let me take care of it. Let me have the responsibility. I'll take care of my finances. I'll build my business. I'll take care of my kids. And oh, by the way, if the guy shows up on a white horse, terrific. But if he doesn't, I'll take care of myself. Love your response to that, and anything that you want to add to that, because I've seen that pattern in our business and so many companies, and I have such tremendous respect for all of our female distributors. But I'd love you're working with this every day. You know a lot more about it than I do.
Well, I appreciate you sharing that. I mean, so, the part of the story that I didn't share with you, John, I mean, the reason, that was a big, big catalyst in the demise of my marriage. Because I lived with it was in a very abusive kind of situation. And what was happening is that, the dynamics shifted the more I grew personally, that personal growth, the more I grew my business, the more I grew financially, the intimidation became more, and therefore created a very volatile situation. So leaving the situation, I always vowed, like, I'll never be in that situation again. I will never allow somebody to have that kind of control or power over me again. And so I think that typically becomes a part of the mindset, especially for women, whenever maybe they don't feel validated at home, or whenever they feel like they've lost power and control. And I've seen this unfold, especially working with women, that once they get that, and once they get that belief that they can do it, and that they do have that control based on their desire, based on their willingness to do the work, based on those things, and that belief increases, it's like they own it. Once they own that belief in themselves, I don't know that I've ever seen a woman retract or back off of that belief in who she is and what she's capable of. And not that, and here's the thing, and I don't want any men to be listening and hearing this differently. I'm not about, oh, I'm a woman, hear me roar. I'm not that girl. I'm not that girl. I am an old-fashioned girl, and I do like the idea of chivalry and men opening doors and all of those things. However, I do think that women, and I mean, just from the Bible, I mean, we are helpmates. We don't walk behind and we don't walk in front of, we walk alongside of.
Mm.
And so, whenever you think about that and you think about how we were created from the side of the man, from his side. And so I think that there is always synergy to that. And I don't know if I'm really answering your question. I just feel like that now more than ever, women have the opportunities to believe in themselves, because for so long, they didn't have those kind of opportunities to serve and to connect, and therefore, and it really isn't about the money. At some point, when the money is not just the issue, it's the fact that we feel valuable. We feel of value. We feel like we're making a difference. And to my point, to what I said at the beginning, is like, women will join causes before they join businesses.
Mm.
And so whenever you can create a cause for a woman to realize, if I'm having an impact or if I'm making a difference for someone else, it's inspiring to me. And typically they will walk through the wall for that kind of recognition or that kind of impact. And the money is the secondary, oh, by the way.
Interesting. It's amazing. I'm reflecting on an interview that I did a couple of weeks ago with a lady named Mariel Holly, and I think I mentioned her the other day. This lady, she was one of the first or first Mexican woman, but one of 19 human beings, male or female, to ever swim the 7 oceans of the world. And
Yes.
during one of her swims, I think she was in Molokai. And I didn't know this, but it had been a leper colony at one time. And anyway, she kind of put the pieces together and she started a charity, okay, helping children that have these cleft lips, for example, right? And help to support it. And I'm thinking, a guy would have missed that. I would have missed it. I would have been caught up in the swim. You know what I mean? Like that would have been where my head was, or, my case, it would have been a wrestling match or judo match or power, whatever I was doing, it would have been totally focused. Where a woman's going, yeah, I just swam 21 miles in the ocean, but hey, these kids over here, how do we help them? And I think that, and I'm not dissing my own gender, by the way, but I think women, to your point, are so much more aware of what's going on beyond that maybe narcissism that us guys have, where, hey, it's all about me, or it's all about us, or it's all about the moment. Where, what's the big picture? Comment on that if you would, because you work with so many remarkable women that are doing remarkable things. They're building great businesses, but they're doing other great things in addition too.
Well, and and whenever we talk about like the She Network, I mean, like, that's one of the things about the mission aspect of it. Because men, I mean, typically, and we started getting into personalities, and I think men are more, we'll say, red, money driven, blinders on, and they forget the relationship. If men would just stop, and no offense, men, but if you guys would just stop and listen, just listen. Because most of the time, women just want to be heard. You don't have to fix us. Men are always looking to fix us, and we don't want to be fixed. We just want to be heard. And so if I could give any advice to any men listening, and just as you listen and listen to my words, please listen to what's being said. Because I find that sometimes talking to men, they just want the conversation for them to finish the conversation so they can say what they want to say. and not really connect to the words that are being spoken. And so the women will look at the result. The men will look at the activity. And they want the women want to see what the outcome is. They want to know, if I do this, what's the outcome? So it's like a formula. If I invest my time here in doing this activity, what is it? And it's not, and most of the time, 99% of the time, it is not money driven. Now the money supports it, but it's not money driven. It is the it is the equation to the means to the end. If I do this, what impact will it have, and to whom will it serve?
Interesting. Well, you're making a lot of great points. So let's talk about currently. Now, you started the She Network now. How long ago?
It's been a year ago now. I mean,
Okay.
officially I didn't launch it till actually July. So it's been about 6 months.
Okay. And you were motivated to do that. I'm sure about some of what we've already talked about, but what does a listener need to hear? First of all, what really caused you? I mean, obviously, you're married to an icon in our industry. Okay. You're around all these network marketing, legends and everything else that we talk about, but you saw that there was a void in the marketplace
Mhm.
for not only women's voices to be heard, certainly, but for something that was missing, right? You started this movement because you said, hey, you know what? With all the great things that are happening with women in direct selling, there's still something missing. What was that thing?
I mean, to be honest with you, this has really been a big journey for me. I've literally been, I had been sitting in church, and I mean, I can't even hear the pastor speak sometimes because I'm just hearing God just like put stuff in my brain. So I fought it for a long time, to be honest with you, John, because I was like, I don't have time. I just don't know if I can put anything else on my plate. And I'm just being really transparent. I mean, whenever it came down to it, what it really was that, like I said in the beginning of our conversation, I love stories. And I feel like that stories are the thing that serve. It's so multifaceted from so many different directions. And a lot of times I feel like that women don't feel like they're good enough. They don't feel like they can measure up. They don't feel like they're worthy. And I don't believe that there's enough environments that allow them to bloom where they're planted, if you will.
Okay.
And social media is great, and but I really feel like in some aspects it is derailing it, because women they're either comparing themselves to other women, and it's such a dangerous spot to be in, because comparison, it either does one of two things. It either makes you ego driven because you're better than, but more detrimentally is it makes you less than. And so you have this imbalance, if you will. And I was seeing lots and lots of women that were shrinking back. I was seeing lots and lots of women actually being bullied in our space, because this, John, this is no matter what, even though 75% of our business is women, I will tell you that there's still a double standard. And the double standard is this, is that, I don't know if you remember back in high school, and I'm being like really personal, you have the football star, and he, all the girls like, oh, he's so great. He's a rock star and he can do whatever he wants. And you know what I'm talking about.
Mm-hmm.
Right? And he's amazing. But you have the cheerleader, and all the guys like her, and she's a bad girl, and she has a target on her back. So they celebrate the football hero, quarterback, but the cheerleader, the pretty girl or whatever, she has a target on her back. It's the same in network marketing. A man can come in and plan, and he's a legend. But a woman can come in and blow up a marketing plan. Who does she think she is? And it is rampant. It becomes very rampant in our space. I've seen it. I've seen it. And to the point of where it can be, there's sabotage. So I wanted to create a space that allowed for women to flourish, that allowed to have them a safe haven, to where, because the She Network, She is an acronym for sharing her excellence.
Oh, I like that. Okay.
So so that's sharing her experience, sharing her expertise, right? And because it is very important, because again, we go back to the story. And whenever you allow the woman to come in and she can share her story and realize her story, that there's another woman that's waiting to hear her story, that's going to be empowered, that's going to go, oh my gosh, if she can overcome that, so can I. If she can get through that and have success like that, so can I. And I'm very, very fortunate, because I have such amazing relationships with so many top tier women in our space, and whenever I went to them, I'm like, I want to collaborate. I want to collaborate and not compete. I want women to be able to generically come in and share their story, because you're geniuses in your own lanes, in your own companies. But other women in other companies, they don't see you. They don't know you. They don't know what you've had to overcome. What if we could come in and share your story and share your journey and see, like, there's been tears on the pillow. There was a lot of challenges you had to overcome: drug addiction, physical abuse. Alcoholism. There's so many, and most people only see what they see from the front of the stage. Mm-hmm. They don't know the backstory. They don't know the previous chapters of life. And so whenever you come in and they connect, and I'm going through this interview and they're sharing their story, then other women are like, oh my gosh, I had no idea. So the idea was to create this ripple effect. And not only that, in lanes of business, but I wanted it to be this women. This vision that I have for it is a place where women can connect in whatever area of life they're in. Meaning that, okay, what if your expertise or your excellence is, how to potty train a 2-year-old in 2 weeks? I'm not in that lane of life right now, but how many women right now would love to know that, because they're so focused on trying to potty train their 2-year-old that they can't do their business because they're trying to do this. So there's so many hats that women wear, so many responsibilities that we have throughout the day. We are constantly resourcing, not only for ourselves, but for our families, for our husbands. We are the stopgap to everything. And then, so we're not only wives, we're not only moms, but we're trying to be entrepreneurs at the same time. And then we got to take care of ourselves, and we got to look great, and we got to be in shape, and we got to be fit, and we got to, it's really daunting whenever you start thinking about it. But I wanted to create this space that allowed women to be able to be safe, share their story. The story we shared yesterday was, she's a top earner in her company, and she just went through a miscarriage. Mm-hmm. And that's a conversation that even women don't have. They don't have the spots, or they don't have the places. How encouraging is that going to be to another woman that's either going through it, been through it, or about to go through it? Anyway, those conversations are not only business related, but it's all the conversations that we want to have with our girlfriends.
Amazing. It takes me back to the late 80s. I was working with a company, and I had for some reason, I had a lot of single moms involved. And one in particular who I just interviewed, whose interview is coming up next week, Arlene Lowy in Pittsburgh. She was a new single mom when I met her, sponsored it into the business. And I went out to Pittsburgh and I worked with her. And I was there like, I'm going to be here 72 hours. All I want to do is you put as many people in front of me as you can, which she did. And I think we did like $40,000 in business in like 3 days. In the meantime, I stayed at her house. She had an extra room. So she stayed at my house, and I watched this woman cook. I watched this woman take care of a 4-year-old. I watched the woman take the 4-year-old to day school or Hebrew school or whatever he was in at the time. I watched her wear about 9 hats. And I swear to God, Taylor, that's when it opened my eyes. I said, guys don't deal with this. We deal with business for the most part in network marketing, right? And we still, we're dads and we have other roles, but nothing like the woman in the relationship, if they're married, or the woman, if they're single, especially if there's a kid or two that they're responsible for, where I'm going, they're switching hats every 5 minutes, and yet they got all this business done. And that's what started to open my eyes. I started to say, wow, like the women are the dominant force. And then to your point, about 75% of our industry is now women. But let me ask you this. So first of all, let's not forget, because I want our people to hear this. How do they get a hold of the She Network? What's the website? What's all the stuff to
Yeah.
get to?
Yeah. So it's, the website is myshenetwork.com. That's the website. I have a free Facebook group, which is My She Network. And so it's a Facebook group that we do, like I do the live interviews in there, John. So we do, it's free for anybody. The website for the membership platform, like we have training. So whenever the women that come in, these top tier women that come in, so they share their story. And then what I do is then I have them share training. I give them like training, and that's for the members inside of the She Network. So they share like so there's all sorts of different training resources, from social media to mindset to, whatever they feel like every woman needs to know. And so I have all of those different top tier women and trainings, from financial education to social media to whatever. And I'm getting ready to launch, it's called the SheEO of your life. It's going to have 6 pillars of different aspects of life for women. So it's being the SheEO of your life, and the different pillars from health, from financial to emotional to spiritual to business. And so it's going to, encompass all those different arenas of life that women need to balance, to juggle.
Wow. So the SheEO.
Mm-hmm.
I love that. That's a great acronym. So to everything that you're saying here, what I love about this, in addition, is the fact that, as a guy, we don't understand women. I'm not going to be the first guy to admit that. I think John Gray was the first guy to admit that, right? Publicly in a book. I will admit, been married a couple times, got 2 daughters, got 2 sisters. I don't understand women, but here's what I do understand. When a woman gets determined, get out of the way as a guy, because you're going to get run over. Now, to that point. So you were working with women generically. You're not working with women in this company or that company. If it's a woman and she's got a problem with building her business, she's got a problem in her personal life, she's got a problem perhaps in her marriage or family.
Yeah.
The She Network is there to kind of support them, hold their hand a little bit, encourage them, and teach them. What am I missing? So a woman comes, she joins the She Network, right? And it's a support mechanism, obviously, to build a business, because that's why they're there, right? I mean, they're in network marketing, or direct sales or party plan or whatever. And it's also a support network, socially to some degree. But what I love about it, I guess where I'm going with this is generic. This is to help women grow their business. It's not myopic that it's about this company or that company. It's about women growing their business, etc. What part of that what are we not explaining?
So for me, John, it's is that Larry and I have positioned ourselves, and we'll talk about that with our academy, is the online upline. And for me, that's the way I want to position and how I've positioned myself in this manner. Because from every layer. And what I mean by that is because my big vision, so last year, and it was actually a year ago last week, I had a SheEO retreat, and I took, there was 15 7-figure earners that we went on a girls retreat, and I took care of everything. I had a chef come in. I had masseuses come in. We went, all the meals were taken care of. We did yoga. We were on the beach, and we took care of everything, because I wanted them to have a safe place for them to come and let their hair down and just be themselves. Because even at that level, right? even at that level, we've got women, they're give, and they never can get poured back into. So I wanted to create that space for these top tier women, that were here at the echelon. But then as it goes down and as it flows down, then we have women that are just getting started. We have women that, need support in different arenas. So I saw myself in being this collaborative entity that women could connect with other women and create relationships, and that the bigger vision is taking this on the road, because we've been in shutdown, kind of. I've had to pivot a little bit because the bigger vision that I saw for this, John, because I do have a philanthropy piece that goes with this. And I wanted to go to different cities and different locations and pour into the women in those locations from every aspect, from business to financial to all of those pillars in live meetings. And then the next day, then we have our field trip. And our field trip is that we all collectively go together and we pour into the women of that community. And whether that's at a shelter or whatever that looks like, that's based around that hostess's, connector, because I want us to leave that place better than we found it. Nice. And that was the bigger vision that I saw, and the impact, and like I said, this last year really kind of has tapered and slowed that vision down. But, it's still there. And I know that, I'm just trusting the Lord just to keep opening the doors as he sees fit, and see what happens and see how he directs my steps.
Well, the other thing I think you're doing is when I look back, 30 plus years ago, I was in the life insurance business for a short time. And there you had the $1 Million Roundtable, and you got people from, all these different insurance companies, and you would go to a dinner or lunch, once a month, and you were sitting next to your competitor, so to speak. Mm-hmm. But you weren't competitors in that environment. You were collaborators, right? And the guy next to you might be with somebody that's knocking on the same door even, but he told you, hey, let me tell you how to do this or that. And that's what you're doing in essence, is you're taking these women from a variety of different companies. Some might be network marketing, some might be party plans, some might be some of the other hybrid plans that are out there today. And you're saying, hey, we all have that commonality. We want success. We want to build a financial fortress around our families. We want to be able to, put money away for our retirement down the road, et cetera, et cetera. You're doing all of those wonderful things under that roof, so to speak, of the SheEO network. And I love it. I think it's the greatest thing in the world that you're doing. So as a guy, I'm complimenting you. As a colleague, I'm complimenting you as well. But let's go one step further. So the women get involved. And like these 15 women that are 7-figure earners, I probably know a handful of them, but they're there to coach everybody, right? So a woman joins this, and she may hear from somebody in a company that she might have another company, but she's getting that advice and guidance to go and build her business, right? So comment on that a little bit. How has that worked in terms of the mentorship, if you will, of more senior level women in the industry, coaching some of the newbies?
Well, I think, because we are talking generic, right? We are talking a generic, like in the training, because I have the training platforms is they do it live so the women can attend the meetings or the training live, but then we house the content in a back office. So then they have access to it at all times. And so it's not like these women are, taking away from their own businesses. They're just getting a piece of their knowledge. They're getting a piece of who they are. They're getting a piece of a way to connect with them in such a manner that allows them to, it's always the little things, and you never know the little nuggets of information that can change everything. And to me, that's what I see in this being really special, is because it's that one little thing that can change. And you may have got it from somebody you'll never know again. You may never see them. They may be in another company, whatever, but their story, that one little thing or that one little a piece of advice that they latched onto, and they were able to take that and run with it. You know, John, in your business, it's the little things that can change everything. And that's what I see happening. That's what I see unfolding. It's not like these big, massive, downloads of something. And more importantly, it's going to be the relationships that they're building and seeing each other through the Zoom meetings and through the groups, that they go, oh my gosh, and they already know each other. Whenever we have a live event, they're already going to know it. They're already going to be at a whole nother level with that person because they've made those relationships outside of being online or being, of this company or this company. They've established something different outside of a product or a compensation plan. And that's what I think women really connect to more than anything. And having this mindset of collaborating and not competing, because there is enough oxygen at the top for everybody.
Well said.
And that's what I wanted to dispel more than anything, is that ladies, let's get rid of the stereotypical, backbiting, all those things that are just not who we are at our core. That's just not who we are. And there's enough for all. And the more we give into each other, the more we're going to get back. That's the way I see it. And that's the environment and the culture that I want to create in this space for women.
Great. So Taylor, and kind of wrapping up here, okay, 28-year veteran, influencer, you're certainly married to somebody who's certainly a huge influencer, been a huge influence in my career and life and everything. But, you've kind of created this unique, it's not really unique, but it's a path. And I think it's a wonderful thing that you're doing. But let's just talk from this standpoint, male or female, doesn't really matter. Why 2021? Here we've all been through this same commonality of COVID, right? It's affected all of our businesses, our families, our lives, circumstances, etc. Right? So many people right now, and let me categorize them. There's people, my age group. I'm going to be 60 in May, right? So there's that. Let's call them 50 to 70-year-old, male, female, doesn't matter. Maybe they started their own business, non-network marketing. And it's not going to be the same when it's all said and done, whether technology has replaced aspects of it or whether, I know just living, we live in the same community, obviously, right? I mean, we've seen businesses, my favorite pizza parlor in Allen, for example, closed, been there for 30 years, no longer there. We see businesses like that. Anyway, second, maybe you were a key person, key man or key woman in somebody else's business for years. You had a great career going. You were starting to look towards retirement and wow, things are going to be great. All of a sudden last March comes and we know what happened since. So let's call that one group of people. Okay. The other group of people is that 25-year-old. And I know you got a couple of kids around that age. I got one that age that, they got all these skills, right? They can take their iPhone and they can launch the space shuttle with it, right? But they're living on mom and dad's couch or spare bedroom saying, what the heck am I going to do? Where am I going to make my career or my fortune or my place in this world?
Mm-hmm.
So let's just pretend for a second here that they walk into your home this afternoon. They're sitting in front of you. What do you tell them to get their business, number one, started rapidly, right? Because they need to see ink, strike paper and money go to the bank and, blah, blah, blah. That's number one question. And number two question, why our industry versus any of the other things perhaps that they might be considering?
So it's interesting because these are actually conversations that we're currently having in our household. So this is an interesting question that you pose. So, because we have, children in that age range, and, it has really been quite a challenge to have experience or have success, and they watch all of that unfold right at their fingertips, and they see all the things that have been afforded to them as a result of the efforts put in. I think, it's that old phrase, it's like, it's hard to be a prophet in your own hometown, as, our Savior so eloquently shared with us. And so Larry and I, we've always been like, okay, we'll help you, you know, but you have to find your own thing. You have to find your own thing that drives you, whether it's a product or service. What is it that you feel excited about, passionate about? What is it that you love? What is it, that can't come from me. And that ultimately is at the crux, or is at the helm of everything, as far as I'm concerned. Because we always said, and you know this, Larry said, the biggest thing that we have to bring to the table is desire, a burning desire. We've heard that. What does that mean? What does that really mean? A willingness to do the work, right? And being teachable. I mean, those sound like, oh, those are cute little words, but it's so true, because I think we live in a time and a space that, kids don't know what a burning desire of anything is outside of, I don't really think they know what a bed of nails looks like. I mean, I was always told, whenever the bed of nails gets hard enough, you'll do something about it. I mean, I left home when I was 17. I put myself through college. My parents went through bankruptcy. They lost everything. I didn't have a home to go to. When I left. That was it.
Mm-hmm.
And there was no turning back. And I think that, because people aren't put in a situation where the bed of nails is hard enough, they're not forced to make a decision. They're not forced to get out of the nest, so to speak. And I think that there's a lack of that burning desire that comes to, and the willingness to do the work, a real willingness to do whatever it takes to get out of your comfort zone, and that only comes whenever the bed of nails is hard enough. Because otherwise, if it's too uncomfortable, well, maybe I'll look for something else. And I say all that to say this, because without those elements, that if I'm having the conversation to this new person coming into the space, without those elements, without you bringing that with you, there's not a lot that I'm going to be able to tell you or to equip you with if you don't bring your toys to the table, so to speak, right? So let's just assume that they're bringing those assets to the table. They're bringing those, we'll just say they're bringing that burning desire, but let's just say they're bringing that willingness to do the work, that willingness to be teachable and say, you know what, you don't know everything, and you're going to have to listen, and you're going to have to do the things that I'm telling you to do. Because let's just talk about that for just a minute. How many 25-year-olds are willing to listen to somebody a little older with a little more respect? You and I both were raised that way, but I don't think as a whole we live in a culture that thinks that way. So if we're assuming all of those elements are in place when they come to the table, then I would say the things that you have to do is that you have to learn what your job description is. And your job description never changes. Your job description is always the same. Is use your product or service, talk to people about your product and service and your opportunity at every opportune moment. And however you go about talking to people, because there's only two kinds, you either know them or you don't. And if you have a story to tell, then you share it at every opportune moment, and you never stop sharing the story. If you do that every single day, no matter how you go about doing it, whether it's face-to-face, belly-to-belly, old school, new school, social media, inside, outside, upside down, I don't care. If you make that your job description and you talk to the people every single day and you get the answers, yes, I want to buy. No, I don't. Yes, I want to join. No, I don't. If you're getting those conversations going every single day, you can't help but be successful. Everything else outside of that, from my perspective, is complete busy work and is not income producing activity. So if you stay in that lane, no matter what, and never let the day end without doing your job description, you will have success and you will be able to build a residual income for a lifetime.
Perfect. Great answer. So Taylor, I want to thank you first of all I want to continue to wish you nothing but the best. I think what you're doing is incredible. I think you're helping a lot of people, male and female, but females in particular. I think it's an underserved market in our industry, and I'm glad you've recognizing it and doing something about it, and doing what women always do, taking action. When it says, guys, we'd be talking about still starting it, but you did it, and continue great success with that. So this is John Solleder, and I'm the host of Leaving Nothing to Chance podcast. And Leaving Nothing to Chance is where you can get the archives after these shows air. So a lot of people have been writing to me and saying, where do I get this after I heard it? You can get it on Leaving Nothing to Chance. The name of my book is Leave Nothing to Chance. Okay, it's a little different, but that URL was taken, unfortunately. So it's Leaving Nothing to Chance. So you can get a hold of that information there. Taylor, last word is yours. Anything else you want to share with this great audience?
Well, John, I just want to thank you so much for the opportunity to come on your podcast and for you to have me a guest. And, I hope that what we had to share today was brought some value, brought some, maybe some aha moments for those listening, maybe a few little nuggets that can help change their life in some way, shape, form, or fashion. But I just want to leave everybody with one thing, and is that, I want to leave you with hope. And hope, I love acronyms. And if you can think about this and you put hope on your daily method of operation, and that means help one person every day. Whenever you think about life like that, then you'll always have a life full, happy, and joy, because you can never outgive God. That's what I want to say. So Thank you so much.
Great. Thank you so much, Taylor.
Thank you for listening to this week's episode of Leave Nothing to Chance. If you want to know more about what it takes to succeed in the network marketing space, join us again next week for another amazing episode. For additional resources and to connect with John Solleder, visit leavingnothingtochance.com. Don't forget to leave a review, and we'll see you next time.